Hey guys, I'm back at it. I'm back in the sketchbook and I'm ready to try another spread. All right, so I know that we just did a sketchbook spread video, but I have been working so much in this sketchbook that I thought it was worth giving it another try and sharing this one with you. So this time around, we're going to be sketching this adorable hound dog pup. All of the sketches are of this particular dog. And yeah, I might be a little bit obsessed, but hopefully the owner does not mind that I love their dog. So while we're doing these sketches, I thought it might be worth answering a couple of questions / comments that I got recently over on Instagram. And these are actually some questions that I hear a lot. And I don't know if these are all rhetorical questions or if people really want to know the answers, but here we go. So the first one that I get quite a lot is actually one around my Instagram practice. And the question is, how do I paint so fast and so much? And so I have been doing daily dog portraits over there for a while. And lately I've been doing a lot of paintings. And so I can see why people would wonder how I'm able to do so many so fast. And it really does tie right back to this sketchbook practice. The only reason that I think I'm able to actually paint as quickly as I do is because I sketch so much, and particularly the type of sketching that I'm actually doing in this sketchbook. So if you guys don't know, this sketchbook is kind of what I'm considering my block-in sketchbook. And so what I'm trying to do is develop a kind of a shorthand for my painting practice. And with these sketches, what I end up doing is a pretty detailed sketch with very minimal shading. But I like to make sure that I have my drawing really, really tight and I have my shadows really well placed before I move into a painting. And what that allows me to do is almost envision what that painting is going to look like before I even get started. So when I look at a sketch like this in my sketchbook, I can imagine exactly what it is I need to do, what colors I need to mix, where I need to, maintain my darkest darks and hold on to my lightest lights, all of that good stuff that is, kind of the crux of painting and kind of what makes it complicated when you get into it has all been figured out. And so that's really what allows me to paint so quickly. And I think that it's probably something that you can try and accomplish, and that's definitely something that I've been working towards, but I think really it just comes with time and with practice, and that's why I try to be so diligent about working in my sketchbook every single day. Like, honestly, guys, I know you hear a lot of people talking about, overworking and hustle culture and this, that, and the other, whatever. Honestly, there's not a day that goes by that I don't at least draw something, sketch something. I might not be doing full paintings every day, and I might not always post everything that I do, but I don't think that there's a day that goes by where I don't sketch something. So I honestly believe that that is the key to really figuring out your style, if that's what you're trying to figure out, improving your likeness, if you're a portrait artist, whatever it is that you're trying to do is repetition, it's time, and it's thoughtful, meaningful, mindful practice that's going to get you there. And there just really is not a shortcut to it. So yeah, so that's that. The next question or comment that I get a lot is, how do I choose the reference images that I choose? And so if you know me, you know that I I find a lot of my reference on Instagram, and I love going through my feed. It's kind of my my reference of choice. I know a lot of people like to use like Pinterest boards and things like that. I love Instagram because I can pretty much always reference exactly who and where a photo came from. Unlike Pinterest is kind of a little bit dodgy, but the images that you get over on Instagram aren't all wonderful, and they're not all going to be, ideal for painting specifically. But one of the reasons that I like using them is because there's just a ton. There's a ton of variety, and they are truly reflective of the photos that I would get if I was offering commission. So if that's something that you want to get good at, you do have to kind of work with the photos that you're given. And, you can make requests for photos to have certain things like good lighting or certain angles and things like that. But ultimately, you do need to have some flexibility in having just the ability to work with what exists. And on Instagram, I think is a good representation of that kind of thing. And there's a lot of fun stuff over on Instagram too. So that's actually where these images came from. And these all came from one particular user. And I'll list who they are below if you want to check them out over on Instagram. But when I think about the types of pictures that I look for, it really does depend on what I'm doing. So if I'm doing, a full painting versus if I'm doing just a block and study like this, if I'm doing a particular type of study, if I'm studying feet, for instance, versus, muzzles or ears or something else, I'm going to be looking for different things in the photos. But specifically, when I look for a portrait, one of the first and main things that I'm looking for is a really good silhouette and a really good gesture. And what I mean by that is, if you think about just the silhouette, so in other words, like the outline of the pose that you're looking at, that if that's not interesting, if that doesn't tell a story all on its own, then what's inside of it probably also not going to be the most interesting. So I'm looking for things that make an interesting shape, things that might have a negative space cut out of them. I'm looking for just something that's going to be really interesting. And again, same thing with the gesture. If you've got a straight up and down pose, maybe there's a gesture within there that's going to be really interesting. Like maybe there's a color that's skewed off to the side, or one particular side of the face is scrunched up so it's higher than the other. So there's some kind of gesture in there that's creating some interest. So those are the kinds of things that I really look for, other than just a great photo that's well lit and something like that. And yeah, so the last question that I get, and I've gotten this question so many times over the years, is what do I do with all of these sketches? And to be honest, I don't do a whole lot with them, but they're, in my mind, they really are just studies. They're not really meant for me to do anything with them. The value in them for me is really in the actual creation and not in the final product of the drawing. And so when I even think about the question, it just seems odd to me. Like I don't do anything with the end product, and maybe I should. I have thought about that too. Like when people ask me, I'm thinking, is there something I should be doing with them? So if you have any ideas, let me know. One of the things that I thought about, I've thought about this one for a long time, and I probably talked about this before, is I thought about taking one of my older sketchbooks that I used for block ends and taking that and making that into a oil painting practice sketchbook. So I don't have the reference that I used for those old drawings, but let's say it was a sketchbook from last year or something like that. Just taking that and taking the sketches that I have and just seeing what kind of painting I can make out of it, regardless of the fact that I don't have that reference anymore. Just seeing if there's enough information in the sketch alone to really make a painting that I find really interesting. And I think that would be something that would be fun to do. One, because I've been wanting to try and oil paint in my sketchbook for a long time. I've just been not brave enough to do it, I guess. I'm worried about what the paint's going to do on the paper and kind of how that's going to work. But I also think it would just be really freeing to work without a reference. So pretty much everything I do, I'm working directly from a reference. So I think it would be freeing to just kind of make something that I think would be really interesting and not necessarily a direct translation of what I'm seeing in front of me in terms of color and composition and things like that. So yeah, it's really interesting because a lot of times people kind of assume, I guess, that when I'm doing a sketch, it's for something, like that the sketch isn't the thing, that there's a final painting or some other thing that's going to come out of it. I get a lot of comments like, "Oh, that's such a nice sketch. I can't wait to see the finish." And I just think to myself, like, what finish? Like, it is what it is. This is a sketch. So that always kind of cracks me up when people kind of say that or make that assumption. But I get it. I mean, people rightly so have, their own ideas of what what is real art and what is a finished piece. And so I always appreciate the comments, regardless of whether I understand them 100% or not. So I think that's it for me. Those are really the most common questions that I get. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this little sketchbook session, my spread plus some. I did a spread and I couldn't just stop there because honestly, I wasn't super happy with it. And honestly, I don't know if I'm going to continue to even do spreads because I'm just not feeling it. I'm just not feeling it. So with this one in particular, I love the dog, but I was so unhappy with the spread that I went ahead and I was like, let me just do one more drawing all on its own. And I don't know. I don't know about the spreads. I don't know if I'm going to keep doing them. We'll see. But yeah, thanks so much for being here, guys. Thanks for putting up with another sketchbook video. I'm sure that there will be lots more to come. So hopefully you're enjoying it. If you are, feel free to like and subscribe. If you want to see more, feel free to follow me over on Instagram for more on the Daily Dogs Project. And yeah, I'll see you next time.